So we're talking the real reason why most marriages fail and how to save yours. And we're going to be talking about the 6 biggest lies that couples are told, and we were told many of these as well, that keep them stuck in these patterns.
I was anxious, I was depressed, I was out of shape. There was no fulfillment. Even though on the surface, I had so much. A beautiful family, living in a beautiful location, a lot of things that I could be grateful for. I felt miserable because I wasn't taking care of myself. I was neglecting my own needs.
In these lies and feeling trapped in relationships and marriages that are no longer working.
Can't work on my relationship unless my partner is ready or on board. Why do you think so many couples believe these lies?
I mean, we almost believe this one. Welcome back to the Save My Marriage podcast with Aston Simmons and my gorgeous husband.
I'm Adam.
Thanks for being here again, babe. Super excited about this episode. So we're talking the real reason why most marriages fail and how to save yours. And we're going to be talking about the 6 biggest lies that couples are told, and we were told many of these as well, that keep them stuck in these patterns and in these lies and feeling trapped in relationships and marriages that are no longer working. And we're going to share the truth that will actually help you break free to be able to save your marriage, because it all starts with changing these beliefs. If you don't change these beliefs, you cannot change your marriage. So we're going to dive in and share these. Adam's going to be sharing the lies, and then I'm going to be sharing how these show up in relationships. And I know that if you're listening, you're going to be able to relate to at least one, if not all 6 of these lies, because we've seen them with all the couples that we've worked with. So many of them can relate to these.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first lie that we hear a lot is I can't work on my relationship unless my partner is ready or on board.
Yeah.
So what's the truth about that?
Well, we've shared even with our story, that's not true.
Yeah.
Because no 2 couples are at the same point. They never are. And actually believing that lie keeps you stuck.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important that you actually get honest about what you're believing, because if you believe that, then you're never going to make progress. You're always going to outsource your power to somebody else. And in this case, you're going to outsource it to your partner. And like if I had done that, we might not be here right now.
Yeah.
Because, Adam didn't have the awareness. I was at a different stage in my personal development, and I had more awareness that there was more work for us to do. So don't believe that lie. And honestly, it will save you so much time and years if you just stop telling yourself that lie.
Yeah.
You're literally lying to yourself. The truth is it only takes one of you, and you can start to make changes now. Like, if you're the partner listening because you want to improve your relationship, you can listen to this podcast on your own. You don't have to listen to it with your partner. You could take what you hear and you could go and model that change in your relationship. And your partner's going to notice the difference, like we did when we shared in our story. You could start like reading books and, learning new things for yourself. Like you don't need your partner's eyes for you to be able to read. Like, it's funny, but we do this to ourselves. We act like we don't have 2 legs and a heartbeat to be able to move ourselves forward, as if we need to wait for our partner. And it's just simply not true.
Yeah. Beautiful. So lie number 2, we're just in a busy season right now with work and kids and whatever the excuse is. Once things settle down, our relationship will get better on its own.
Yeah. So many people believe this lie. That's not like, it just doesn't make sense. When you say that out loud, that somehow in the future, when things slow down and are easier, and that somehow it's going to fix itself, it's not time's job to fix the challenges in your relationship. So, if communication and connection and intimacy are already a problem in a busy season, it's unrealistic to expect they're magically going to disappear in a quiet season. It doesn't make sense. So the right time to do the work on your relationship is right now. Just right now. It doesn't matter what season you're in. If you're in a busy season, that's a reason to prioritize your relationship so that you can manage that busy season better, so that you actually feel like you're a team and you're on the same page and you're working together. I don't know that there really is even a slow season or like an easier time. I think sometimes we lie to ourselves thinking like there'll be an easier time in the future. And it doesn't usually come because human beings are always creating more or doing more. And, children are changing and growing. So, they might not be babies anymore, but then you've got toddler challenges. Like, I don't know that it ever really gets easier. I think what we need to actually be focusing on is how can I be better at managing those hard and difficult times?
Yeah.
What do I need to learn? Who do I need to become so that I can manage it better instead of waiting for this illusion of an easier time or the perfect time to magically appear in the future of your life, because it doesn't exist. It doesn't happen for any of us.
Yep, 100%. Totally agree with that. Lie number 3, we've already tried counseling or therapy and it hasn't really worked for us.
Yeah. So we work with a lot of couples who have done counseling and therapy. And it's definitely a different approach to how we work on relationships. And we're going to do an episode on that as well. But you've only tried one thing, one or two things. So I hear from people like this all the time, that they think they've tried the one thing, and if the one or two things don't work, then nothing's going to work. Well, that's not true. You haven't tried everything. Like, if you really want to make it work, you've got to try multiple things. Like when we were working it out, I read books, I did courses, I worked with coaches. Adam wasn't open to counseling and therapy. If I had just closed the door because you said no to counseling and therapy, we wouldn't be here today.
No.
There is more than one path or even two paths to where you want to go. There is like a million different pathways you can take. So you've got to really open up your mindset and adopt more of a growth mindset instead of a victim mindset, which basically tells you there's only one way, because there's a million ways to get to where you want to go. It's just, you've got to find the way that works for you. Like, we have found in the couples we've worked with that sometimes the counseling and therapy sessions can be a bit of a bitch session where like you end up just having somebody watch you argue. They stay neutral and you both get quite angry, quite furious, quite frustrated, and you have to kind of listen to your partner, disrespect you or out you in front of someone else. And that can increase feelings of shame and inadequacy, insecurity. And when all of that comes out, you're going to be in fear and you're not going to be your best self. So I know when we work with couples who also do counseling or therapy alongside working with us, we really talk about like setting your counseling and therapy sessions up for success. And I'm amazed that so many people go into counseling and therapy sessions and they haven't regulated their nervous system. Like, if you're doing counseling and therapy, talk therapy, it's not just about the words you speak. It's about like your body language, your nonverbal communication. It's about what's already stored in your nervous system. So if you're going to do counseling and therapy, I would recommend asking your counselor or therapist to set your sessions up for success. So can we do a practice before we go into the session so that we're regulated, so that we've processed our feelings?
Yeah.
It's really that simple. So yeah, definitely there are so many more approaches to work on your relationship. It's 2025, guys. Like, there is so many ways. So yeah, I don't think we can keep believing that lie.
Yeah, 100%. So lie number 4, we will have time to reconnect when the kids grow up and we retire. We hear this one quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
It's similar to the busy season.
But slightly different.
Slightly different.
Yeah. And this one makes me really like angry, but then just on a deeper level, like really sad, because we've been on calls with couples like this in their 50s and 60s, and it is just so heartbreaking to hear them share their life story and all the things they've created together, the careers they've had, the way they've supported each other in their careers, the children and the families they've raised, and now they've left home and, they've left the nest and they're creating what they are in their life, and then they're left together and they're confused. They feel confused. They feel like they've failed. And they say things like, we did everything right. we put our kids through school and then college or university. We built the houses. We had the investment properties. We did all the things on the outside and on paper. But on the inside, we don't feel connected. We don't feel like we know anything about each other. They've had like 20, 30, 40 years together, but they didn't prioritize the relationship. They kept believing this lie that they could build their life together side by side, and then magically when they retire, they would experience this deeper connection and that it would just be waiting for them, like the gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
And then they get to retirement and it's not there. And then they think, oh, well, maybe I chose the wrong person, or maybe we're just not compatible, or maybe there's something wrong with me. And none of that is true. It's that it's a lie. Like, I sometimes say to couples, like, just think about this in a different way. Think about it, for example, if you value your health. So I'll say to men, some men really value their health. So if you really value your health, but you spent your whole life doing the opposite of valuing your health because you thought that when you later in life, once you'd worked, raised the kids and done all the things, you'd have time for your health. So I'm talking like 60 years of, bad eating, not exercising, not moving your body, not really drinking water, terrible sleep, really not prioritizing anything to do with your health. You would not be surprised then at 60 if you went to the doctors and the doctor said, like, you have diabetes, you have a heart problem, like, we need to make some lifestyle changes. You wouldn't be surprised, would you?
No,
because
not at all.
It would make sense
Yeah.
that if you ignore something and neglect something for a long period of time, it won't magically be better when you later have time for it. And it just confuses me how really smart people who like have really great careers believe this lie. And then when you change it, like you swap the example. So if it's not about relationships, put in something else that's important to you, like health or parenting. Like, what if you had your children, but then just used like life and work as an excuse to neglect them until they're 30. And then when they're 30, you try and like reconnect to your kids and your kids don't want anything to do with you. It doesn't make sense, does it?
No,
like,
not at all.
It makes total sense that they would probably not want anything to do with you and not know anything about you, because connection doesn't wait for the right time. Connection is actually about how can we stay connected amongst the busyness of life, in the challenges. And that was the biggest lesson we learned, because we believed for a while, we didn't believe it, but someone said to us when we're having challenges in our relationship, don't worry about it. You've got young children. This is normal. When the kids grow up, it'll be better. And we remember looking at each other going, that's not good enough. Like we were questioning divorce at that point. To think that we had to wait 20 years, 30 years for our kids to grow up before our relationship got better. To us, that was just like a death sentence.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It's not true. I really hope that you're hearing this. You're hearing that it's insane to believe that. And that the truth is, you have to make time for what is important to you, whether that's your health, your relationships, your children, whatever you value, whatever's important to you, it will need time, attention, and effort. It's in small moments every day. You can't put it off and expect it to be amazing.
Yep.
You will be disappointed.
Totally agree with that. So line number 5, relationships are 50-50.
Yeah. So a lot of people like to believe this, don't they?
They do. Yeah, we hear it
Yeah.
quite a lot.
Yeah.
They want to think that they put in their half of the equation and their partner's not pulling their weight. But what do you really believe about that? What's the truth?
Well, it's just simply not true, because human beings are never, like, nothing in a relationship works 50-50. Like, if we were robots, maybe. Like, but for example, in our journey, like of 22, almost 23 years together, there's been so many different times where I'm at like 80%. Like when you were going through your anxiety and depression, like I had more capacity than you. I was like at 80%, you were at 20%.
Yeah.
But then when I became a mum and went to 2 kids, my capacity dropped to more like 60%, so, and then yours increased. So I think that it is a lie. I think it's not a healthy thing to believe, because again, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. You're going to make yourself feel like your partner doesn't care because they're not putting in their 50%, and you're completely disregarding all the other things that affect how much percentage you can put in. So like time is one of them, but nervous system, like what is your nervous system like? What is your capacity mentally, physically, emotionally? There is so much more to that than just, I'm doing my 50%. And the truth is relationships are 100%, 100%. Like if you are getting into a relationship with I'm only doing 50%, then you're only half in to the relationship.
Yeah.
And a half in relationship is never going to equal like 100% result. So I know for both of us, we had to decide to be all in, to make the commitment to be 100% in, knowing that at different times, different seasons, one of us is going to be, more or less percentage. But for us, the goal became getting the relationship as a whole to 100%.
Yeah.
So we do like capacity check-ins, like on a daily basis. What's your capacity like today? If it's my time of the month, my capacity is definitely lower. Adam is amazing. He now has that in his calendar. So
I wasn't always, by the way, I wasn't always amazing, but I've
Yeah.
learned how to tune in. I have it in my calendar. I know when it's coming. It gives me a reminder. And I know just to be a little bit more tuned in and aware that it's coming up, and I'm going to need to do a little bit extra, whether that's dinner or with the kids or just tuning in.
Yeah. And when you get to this place where it's more about just the capacity and looking at it just kind of for what it is, instead of like arguing about who's doing more or less, you can then work together as a team to get the relationship as a whole to 100%, and you can then tune into each other. And that's what relationships are about. They're about attunement.
Yep.
To be able to, work out a plan to get it to 100%. So sometimes we've had to do things like, cancel things or hire help or ask family for help to help our relationships capacity. So definitely don't believe that lie, because it's just simply not true.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that. So the last lie number 6, putting your children or work first is the only way to be a good parent or get ahead.
Yeah. But I mean, we almost believe this one as well. And I think it's hard when you become a parent because the needs of your children become so overwhelming at times. And, but I think it's really important as partners to remind each other that you are the foundation of your life. So without you guys, there is no happy kids, there is no happy home. If you're not happy, if you're not prioritizing yourself, your own mental health, your physical health, you can't give to your relationship. You can't pour from an empty cup. So I think it's actually a big disservice that we, it's kind of, people talk about it as if it's being noble, like as if neglecting their needs to be a good parent is a noble thing to do. But we also know that children don't do what you say, they do what you do. So if they don't see you taking care of your mental health, your physical health, and actually looking after yourself, it's not going to be surprising if they grow up and they don't know how to look after themselves.
100%.
We have to model what we believe. We can't just preach it. And I know this was a big wake-up call for us when we weren't taking care of ourselves and we were on the bottom of the list. And, we were people pleasers as well, and we thought that was the right thing to do. But we realized very quickly that we didn't have the capacity to meet our kids' needs. When our needs were not met, we did not have the capacity to show up and actually be the good parents that we wanted to be.
Yeah.
We were shorter, snappier, like less patient, all those things because we weren't meeting our needs. So I definitely think that's a lie. And I think we need more parents giving each other permission to take care of themselves. I think we need less judgment about parents and parenting. I think it's just gone a little bit crazy with the judgment around parenting. I'm all for doing whatever works for you, but I do think you don't need permission, but I know you kind of do need permission, that you have to put yourself first. You need to, in order to be a good parent or a better parent, I think you need to take better care of yourself so that you can be what your kids really need.
Yeah, 100%. We've definitely seen that in our relationship. The more we take care of ourselves, the better everything goes, because like you mentioned, it is the foundation.
Yeah,
foundation
definitely.
of everything.
I might ask you the questions first.
Go for
Would
it.
you like to do that?
I'd
So
love
we're
that.
going to ask some questions around this. So which of these lies do you think, Adam, did you believe most in our marriage that maybe had a negative impact?
I'd say probably lie number 6, that putting everything else first, putting the kids first, putting, the house and all the things that we wanted to achieve, putting all that first before my own mental health, my own physical health, our relationship was not on the list either.
Yeah.
I think we look at this with other couples as well, and we see that quite often. I think that it's usually work and kids at the top of the list. Sometimes it's friends and other family, and usually you find yourself, and this was true for me, I was down the bottom of the list. I was last.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, what was the cost and impact of that, of you being last or like not even on your list?
I was anxious. I was depressed. I was out of shape. There was no fulfillment, even though on the surface, I had so much, a beautiful family, living in a beautiful location, a lot of things that I could be grateful for. I felt miserable because I wasn't taking care of myself. I was neglecting my own needs.
Yeah. And would you say, like, did that lead to a lot of resentment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is like the number one issue. We'll definitely do an episode on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I had
not
tons of resentment.
Yeah.
Tons.
it's not surprising then though, is it?
No, it's
like
not. Yeah, if you neglect your own needs, you're going to have a lot of resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
definitely. So if there's a couple listening right now and they're believing one of these lies, what's like one small step that you would give them to break free from this? Maybe from that lie that was the biggest one for you.
I think if you heard that lie, that one that I believed many years ago, I'd say the first step is just to acknowledge that maybe you have been neglecting your own needs, and there might be some sadness there. There might be some sadness. I know there was sadness for me, like realizing that I had not been taking care of myself, treating myself like a piece of shit, really. Like thinking I was being great because I was doing all these things for the kids and for everybody else, my work. Meanwhile, all of my needs were at the very bottom of the list. Most of them were not actually getting met. And so acknowledge that, feel the sadness, and then decide to do one thing for yourself. Maybe inch yourself up that list and decide that today, before I go and do these 10 things for the kids, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, or I'm going to have a bath, or go for a walk, or do some exercise, just something. One small act that shows yourself that you matter and that your needs matter is a stepping stone, and you can build from there. But just take one action.
Yeah. And what was that one thing for you? Was that exercise? I'm trying to think back.
Exercise was part of it. Journaling was a big part of that process as well. Exercise, journaling, also my daily practice of, meditation and yoga, moving my body. So all of that.
Yeah.
All of that. It was a combination of things.
And that, like, you could do that in as little as like 10 minutes a day.
Yep.
Like
it doesn't have to be complicated.
No.
Yeah. It doesn't have to take a long
Does
time.
not have to take a long time.
Yeah.
But it compounds, and like over time it builds, and then you start to feel better about yourself, and then you can actually give from overflow without all that resentment.
Yep.
So yeah, amazing. I love that.
Yep.
Do you want to ask me a couple?
Sure. Why do you think so many couples believe these lies?
Oh, that's a good one. I think it's become normalized.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. And honestly, like, I know why we do this, like, normal thing. It's normal to like help each other feel less alone. However, I think it also limits us sometimes, because when you tell yourself, oh, it's normal to put yourself last, it's normal, we're in a busy season that we feel like roommates and we never connect, you basically justify where you are. And when you justify where you are, you convince yourself to stay where you are. Like, you literally convince yourself not to take any action, and then you stop believing or dreaming that you could have better. And, you just fall victim to this, like, this future like putting all of your dreams and like your, the whole I'll be happy when into some place in the future that you may never get to. And then you're here where you don't really want to be. And that gap between where you are and where you really want to be, it creates so much suffering. And then you just experience your life through this suffering because you've normalized where you are and you've justified why you're there and why there's no point for you to do anything about it. So, I think that's why it happens. And I think the antidote is to actually challenge where you are. I think you need to challenge your beliefs. Honestly, I think I challenge my beliefs every single day. You may have heard this before, every level, another devil. Like Adam and I have not made it. We're not at the end. We haven't arrived. I mean, we're happy with where we are compared to where we were 7 years ago, definitely. But we also know that we're going to continue to grow. Like the goal is to continue to grow, like individually and together.
Yeah.
And we know that in order to grow, we're going to have to keep challenging what we believe in every season. And just not because we're bad or wrong, that's not what it's about. It's actually about, is what I'm believing right now helping me create what I want? And if the answer is no, then change it. Okay, well, what would I need to believe to have what I want? And, for the example for us, when someone's turned around and said to us, well, it's normal that you guys are struggling because you've got children. Like one day when they grow up, you'll reconnect. I am just so glad we both looked at each other and were like, that doesn't sound right. Like we want to challenge that belief. That wasn't good enough for us. We challenged that belief and we said to each other, well, why not find a way to stay connected whilst raising your children? Why not do that?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you all for watching this episode. We've really loved.
Yeah, that's fun.
Love the chat. If you've got something from it, if you enjoyed it, if you got something from it, we'd love you to do just one thing. If you could just subscribe, that would mean the world to us because it really helps spread this message to other couples who really need it. It helps it get found by more people, and that would mean the world to us. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.